Ripple is being sued by the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission for selling unregistered securities. The first virtual court session is scheduled later, February 22nd, I believe. And Ripple Labs, they launched the XRP cryptocurrency in 2013. Ether launched their ICO, initial coin offering, and raised $5 million the following year. So why does the SEC believe Ripple is a security, but Ether is not, or even Stellar for that matter, which was started by the same person who founded Ripple, Jed McCaleb, and has the same code, community, and goals?
Well, one of the things that constrains me as a commissioner is that when we are in litigation, I can't talk about it. So I really can't talk about the Ripple case.
Emily, you want to jump in?
Yes, sure. Nice to see you. Thank you for coming. I wanted to ask you a question about Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen's comments. I know you can't get into her mind, but she just said that crypto use in terrorism is a growing problem. And I'm curious if you think this is a significant comment, if this might in some way set the tone for regulatory views towards crypto over the next 4 years.
I think there are a couple things to bear in mind. Secretary Yellen was going through a confirmation process in which she was being asked about many different issues, and crypto was one of them. But I can tell you that when you're going through confirmation, you're just trying to get through the questions. And so while I was a little bit troubled by that comment in the sense that I think the actual numbers don't bear out that crypto is a hugely used instrument for illegal purposes. There, of course, is some amount of illegal activity that does use crypto, but I think people can point to cash and say that there's more illegal activity happening in cash. So I think that the written responses that she gave were a bit more nuanced than that. And I'm sure that as she gets into the job and has to deal with crypto-related issues more frequently, she'll be getting lots of briefings and be getting a clearer picture of what's going on. So I think it really remains to see how the new administration interacts with crypto. I think the industry itself has grown so dramatically in the past several years, and the narratives around it, I think, have changed as well. So I think we'll see people in the administration coming to realize the merits of the crypto space and getting a more clear picture of what it's actually being used for.
Commissioner Peirce, as you know, some large public companies or mid-caps public companies have been spending some of their treasury on Bitcoin. And it's being viewed by some as almost a soft version of a Bitcoin ETF. How many commissioners are worried that companies are using their treasury to buy Bitcoin to the point that they just become ETFs and not do what they're supposed to do? Is there any major concern among the commissioners regarding that? And if so, how many?
Well, so I can only speak for myself, and I will say that I certainly am watching that trend, and it's one that I feel bolsters my position that I gave several years ago, which is that we're ready for an exchange-traded product, and so I would like to see an exchange-traded product move forward. Of course, the facts and circumstances matter, but I think the point that you raised is a really important one, which is that people are looking for ways through our regulated securities markets to access Bitcoin. And so if we don't give them the natural way, which I think would be an exchange-traded product, they're going to look for other ways to do it. They're over-the-counter products now that exist, so people do have ways to access it, but those might not be the most direct and most cost-effective ways.
Has it been discussed at all?
Again, I can't talk about what my colleagues are thinking. What I can tell you is that these are points that I make quite frequently because I make them in public, and I talk to my colleagues about these things as well.
So one thing that you've talked about before. Oh, sorry, Lawrence. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, do you think that the SEC? Did the SEC miss the boat then when it comes to Bitcoin ETFs? Now that these companies are buying over the counter instead of using an ETF, did the SEC miss the boat in any attempts to regulate it?
Well, I certainly think the SEC has been slow to get off the starting line, but as with exchange-traded products that were not crypto exchange-traded products, but just standard exchange-traded products, it took us a long time to get a rule done, but we did get a rule done for regular exchange-traded products, exchange-traded funds, and I would imagine that eventually we will get to the point where we really do have to confront the exchange-traded product issue with respect to Bitcoin. Again, as I laid out in my dissents on prior applications, I think we have been applying the wrong standard, but I'm also hopeful that we're having a new chairman. We have a new chairman now, but she's temporary, and we're awaiting our new permanent chairman. And when he comes in, he's someone who's quite knowledgeable about crypto. And so I intend to have conversations with him about it. We have applications in front of us now. So we'll have to look at the facts and circumstances of those applications.
Emily, you want to go ahead?
In the past, you've talked about how a lack of regulatory clarity was going to drive crypto startups and crypto entrepreneurs out of the United States. Is that indeed happening? Are crypto startups leaving the U.S.? And if so, what countries would become the center of crypto innovation if not the United States?
Well, I think absolutely there are people who are building things outside of the United States because of the lack of regulatory clarity that people have been asking for quite a long time now, and we've been very slow to give that to them. The SEC in the last year has provided some clarity, and OCC, the state of Wyoming, and others have been trying to provide clarity. So that's helpful. But I think on the other hand, people see that it's dangerous from an enforcement perspective to engage with U.S. citizens, so they prefer to just keep things outside the U.S. I think a lot of activity is happening in Asia. Singapore is a place that people are going. But I think, it's still a new industry, and I think lots of countries are going to make a play for it. Switzerland is making a play as well, I think. So we're going to see there, and I think there's room for everyone to play in this space, but the United States really does need to get its act together.
Commissioner Peirce, speaking of Asia, China's developing a central bank digital currency. Should the U.S. be worried about that, or should they be on the ball more in developing their own e-dollar?
Well, I would say that China is certainly ahead in terms of developing a central bank digital currency. They have a big disadvantage, which is that people would be concerned about privacy when using that CBDC. I personally think that CBDCs are less interesting than what's being developed privately. But I think there's a lot of talk in the United States about whether we'll move forward with something like that. So I would imagine that at some point that will happen. But again, I think when any government is the one behind a digital currency, there are going to be really legitimate questions about privacy and whether the government is monitoring what you're using the currency for.
You mentioned private projects. I don't know if what about the challenges regulating decentralized finance? I see that the Federal Reserve Bank of St. Louis released some talking points on decentralized finance. I wonder, what is your view on regulating this very fast evolving space?
Well, I think you point out a couple in that question. One, it is very fast moving, and so it can be quite difficult for regulators who are not fast moving to stay abreast of what's going on. The second issue, I think, is that we always approach regulation by looking at the intermediaries involved. We want a central party that we can grab hold of, that we can impose regulations on. And truly decentralized finance does not give you that option. So I think it's great for resilience and financial stability, but it does make it does make regulating a challenge. Now, that said, I mean, that's just a conversation that we have to have as a society. We have to figure out how to regulate these kinds of things and what the role of government regulators is going to be. in decentralized finance. So I don't have the answers yet, but I think the questions are real and important. And I think when we talk about these things, we need to really underscore the importance of privacy, the ability of individuals to interact with one another in ways that they want to do, while at the same time, underscoring the importance of the regulatory objectives that we have, that we have in traditional financial regulation.
Do you think Bitcoin can ever be banned? There's this thought out there that a government can somehow shut it down, but can it actually be stopped? I just want to hear your thoughts on that.
I really don't know what it means to ban Bitcoin because, people are able to hold their Bitcoin and run their you'd have to shut the internet down, but you'd have to do that everywhere. I don't understand what banning Bitcoin means.
Great. Just final question. Do you own any Bitcoin yourself?
I don't. I can't own any crypto assets in the position that I have.
Thank you very much.
I want to be able to remain objective.